Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. Today we're going to be exploring the world of genre-bending novels.
Oh,
Exciting.
yeah, it's going to be a good one. Um, as you probably already know, genre-bending novels are really kind of those books that just take the traditional genre rule books and just toss them right out the window.
Good.
And they end up crafting these stories that are just so unique and so different.
Yeah.
So we're going to try to figure out, what makes these stories so captivating and really dig into some prime examples.
Mhm.
And I think some of these might actually surprise you.
Oh, for sure.
So let's get right into it.
Okay.
So,
I think what's really fascinating about genre bending is that it goes beyond just, creating something new.
right.
It's a very deliberate art form.
Yeah.
It allows authors to enrich their stories and really kind of push the boundaries of what sometimes traditional genres might limit them to.
So it's not just about taking like fantasy and sci-fi and throwing them together.
Yep.
There's actually a real strategy involved in this.
Definitely.
Um, think of it this way. Each genre has its own set of tools and tropes.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So by blending genres, authors can kind of draw from the strengths of each of them
Right.
and combine those in really unexpected ways.
Okay, I'm starting to see the appeal here. One of the sources that we looked at really emphasizes how genre-bending novels kind of pull us in.
Mm-hmm.
And the first reason is actually breaking expectations.
Right.
So it's kind of like you're on this roller coaster, you're expecting, a certain twist or drop, and then all of a sudden the track veers off in a completely different direction.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thrill of a genre-bending novel. It keeps you constantly guessing.
Totally. Yeah. And that element of surprise often leads to incredibly rich storytelling.
Right.
Which is, another reason why these books are so compelling.
Mm-hmm.
You take, for instance, like the intricate world building that you find in fantasy,
Mm-hmm.
right? And combine that with the heart-pounding suspense of a thriller.
Right.
The possibilities are endless.
Endless, yeah. That actually makes me think of The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern.
Ooh, yeah.
That's got fantasy romance mystery.
Oh, it's so good.
All woven together so beautifully.
Morgenstern's prose just creates this like mesmerizing, almost dreamlike atmosphere.
Yeah.
But it's not just about, creating a really captivating setting.
Right.
The magical realism in that story actually mirrors the characters' struggle to control their own destinies.
Okay.
It's like they're trapped within this beautifully crafted illusion.
So the magical elements aren't just there for show. They actually deepen that thematic resonance of the story.
Exactly. And then you have that slow burn romance between the two young illusionists, Celia and Marco.
Oh, yeah.
And their forbidden love kind of unfolds against this backdrop of this magical competition, which adds another layer of tension to the story.
Right. And just when you think you have it all figured out, there's also this layer of mystery that unfolds, and it just keeps you hooked till the very last page.
Oh, for sure.
So it seems like, genre blending also has this power to really open doors to genres that readers might not typically gravitate towards.
Right.
One of our sources mentions this as actually the third reason for its appeal. So broader reach, right?
Yeah, it can act as like a gateway,
Yeah.
enticing readers to step outside of their comfort zone.
Okay.
Imagine someone who primarily reads sci-fi, right? And then they discover the emotional depth of historical fiction.
Right.
Through like a time travel narrative or something.
It's like a literary Trojan horse sneaking in those elements of another genre that you might not usually pick up.
Totally.
Which brings me to Outlander by Diana Gabaldon.
Oh, yeah.
That's historical fiction, romance, and even a little bit of sci-fi.
With the time travel element.
Yes.
Yes, Gabaldon is a master of blending genres.
It seems like it.
Yeah, in Outlander, she seamlessly weaves together historical detail with this really passionate love story.
Yeah.
And what I think is so impressive is how she uses, specific historical events and figures to really ground that time travel aspect.
Right.
It feels believable because she's done her research and she's integrated those elements so carefully.
Yeah, so I've heard the romance in Outlander is pretty intense.
Oh, it is.
So does that historical setting, with all the different societal norms, does that affect the way that the romance actually plays out?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The contrast between Claire's modern sensibilities
Right.
and the social constraints of 18th century Scotland creates this really unique dynamic.
Yeah.
The romance feels very forbidden, dangerous, even, which just adds another layer of complexity to the story.
So it's not just a straightforward love story.
No.
The historical context really adds, this element of conflict and tension.
Exactly. And this is where Gabaldon's skill as a writer really shines.
Yeah. Yeah.
She doesn't shy away from the complexities of the time period,
Okay.
both in terms of historical accuracy and the social dynamics.
That's fascinating. It makes me want to revisit Outlander with like a fresh perspective and pay attention to those historical details.
I highly recommend it.
Okay.
You'll discover even more nuance and depth to the story.
Awesome.
Now, are you ready to explore another example of genre-bending brilliance?
Oh, yes, please.
This time, we're going to venture into a city that is both familiar and fantastical.
Bring it on. I'm ready.
Okay, prepare to have your mind blown by The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin.
Okay.
It's urban fantasy, sci-fi, and social commentary, all rolled into one
Wow.
incredibly powerful narrative.
I've heard amazing things about this book,
Yeah.
but I'm not very familiar with urban fantasy.
Oh, okay.
Can you give me like a little more context?
Of course, so urban fantasy often takes place in modern-day cities,
Okay.
but it incorporates these elements of magic and the supernatural.
Mm-hmm.
And Jemisin takes this concept to another level by actually personifying New York City.
Okay.
Each borough becomes a human avatar.
Wow.
It's a brilliant way to kind of explore themes of gentrification,
Oh, wow.
cultural identity,
Okay.
and just the soul of a city.
That's such a creative concept.
Yeah.
I'm already intrigued. How does she blend the sci-fi elements into this fantastical urban setting?
So she introduces this concept of this like interdimensional enemy
Okay.
that threatens to destroy the city.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a cosmic force
Okay.
that feeds off of chaos and division. So you have these human avatars that are representing different boroughs, and they have to band together to protect the city from this otherworldly threat.
So it's not just about like the internal struggles of a city. There's an external threat that forces these diverse characters to unite.
Exactly.
That sounds like a powerful metaphor for a lot of challenges we face in the real world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Jemisin uses genre blending to create a narrative that's both entertaining and thought-provoking.
Right.
She tackles very complex social issues
Mm-hmm.
without sacrificing the excitement and wonder of a fantastical story.
Okay, I'm really starting to see how genre bending can elevate storytelling to a whole new level.
Yeah,
It's not just about escapist entertainment. It can also be a way to engage with, real world issues in a very unique and thought-provoking way.
exactly. And Jemisin is a master of this craft.
Yeah.
The City We Became is a prime example of how genre bending can be used to create stories that are both entertaining and intellectually stimulating.
Definitely adding that to my reading list.
You should.
Speaking of captivating stories, let's talk about a book that dives into the world of secrets and glamour.
Okay.
The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid.
Oh, good one.
That's historical fiction romance and a little dash of mystery.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a behind-the-scenes look at old Hollywood.
Reid is brilliant at creating narratives that really feel like you're getting the inside scoop.
Right.
In this case, she uses the framework of this reclusive Hollywood icon,
Okay.
Evelyn Hugo, who is finally revealing her life story to this young journalist as Evelyn recounts her past.
Yeah.
We get these glimpses of old Hollywood glamour, forbidden romances, and just the ambition that fueled her rise to stardom.
So it's like reading a juicy tell-all, but with more depth and heart.
Exactly. And the mystery element comes into play as you start to uncover the truth
Okay.
behind Evelyn's 7 marriages.
Okay.
You know, what motivated her choices? What secrets is she hiding?
Yeah.
And why has she chosen this particular journalist to share her story with?
So many questions for layers.
Right.
It sounds like a total page-turner.
Oh, for sure.
Does Reid manage to capture like the essence of old Hollywood without romanticizing it?
That's one of the things I admire about Reid's writing.
Yeah.
She doesn't shy away from the darker side of fame.
Right.
The story touches on themes of sexism, homophobia, and the exploitation that was prevalent in the film industry during that era.
Right.
But she does it in a way that feels very nuanced and authentic.
So it's not just about the glitz and glamour. It's
Yeah.
really about the human cost of ambition and all the secrets that people keep to protect themselves and their careers.
Exactly. Reid's use of historical fiction allows her to explore these themes in a way that feels both relevant and timeless.
Yeah.
The story may be set in the past, but the issues it raises are very much still resonant today.
Right. And I'm kind of sensing a pattern here.
What's that?
Genre bending really seems to allow authors to tackle these complex themes in a way that feels fresh and engaging.
Absolutely. By weaving together elements from different genres,
Right.
authors can create narratives that are, multi-layered, surprising, and thought-provoking.
Yeah.
And we're really just scratching the surface
Oh, wow.
of what's possible with genre blending.
Okay, so my mind is definitely blown. I'm ready to explore more examples of these genre-bending masterpieces.
Awesome.
What other literary mashups await us on this deep dive?
Oh, we've got plenty more to uncover.
Okay,
Get ready for a post-apocalyptic journey with a surprising twist of beauty and hope.
that sounds intriguing. Lead the way.
Let's go.
I'm eager to see where this deep dive takes us next. Welcome back to our deep dive. We just explored some really amazing examples of genre-bending novels.
Yeah.
And now I think it's time to kind of dig a little deeper into why this approach to storytelling is so effective.
Right. I
Um,
think it all kind of boils down to how genre bending achieves three key things.
okay.
So first, it expands your imagination.
Okay.
Second, it enhances that emotional depth of a story.
Mm-hmm.
And third, believe it or not, it actually can enhance realism as well.
Okay, so let's start with expanding imagination.
Yeah.
One of our sources emphasizes how mixing genres can really just push the boundaries of what's possible in storytelling.
It's true. When you combine elements from, these different genres,
Yeah.
you're essentially opening up this whole new realm of possibilities.
Right.
Think about how, like, adding mystery to a fantasy novel
Mm.
can keep you on the edge of your seat, or how a romance set in a sci-fi universe can create a love story that's truly out of this world.
So it's like taking these familiar elements and rearranging them in a way that creates something fresh and unexpected. Yeah. Almost like creating a whole new color
Right.
by just blending two existing ones.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
And that's what makes genre blending so exciting for both readers and writers. It allows us to step outside the confines of traditional storytelling
Right.
and explore these, like, uncharted literary territories.
And we've already touched on some great examples.
We have.
How does this idea of expanding imagination play out in books like The Night Circus
Oh, yeah.
or Outlander?
Well, in Morgenstern's The Night Circus,
Mm-hmm.
the use of magical realism transports us to a world where the impossible feels tangible.
Okay.
The circus appears out of nowhere,
Right.
time bends to its own rules,
Right.
and love blossoms amidst this competition that's fueled by magic.
Yeah.
It's a world that really operates on a different logic than our own. Yet it feels strangely believable because Morgenstern establishes the rules of this world so carefully.
And in Outlander, that time travel element really allows us to experience history in a way that's both educational and thrilling. We literally get to walk alongside Claire as she navigates, the dangers and complexities of 18th century Scotland,
Right.
all while falling in love with this man from another time.
It's amazing, and it's not just about the romance or the adventure.
Right.
The time travel aspect allows Gabaldon to explore themes of cultural clashes,
Oh, wow.
societal norms,
Okay.
and just the enduring power of human connection across time.
So it's like these genre-bending elements create a portal to another world, but they also offer this new lens through which to view our own world and history.
Exactly.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it is. And speaking of viewing the world in a new way, we can't forget about the city we became.
You're right.
Jemison's personification of New York City as this living entity pushes the boundaries of urban fantasy
Yeah.
and creates a world where the city itself becomes a character, complete with its own unique struggles and triumphs.
I have to admit that concept initially struck me as a bit strange, but now that we've talked about it more, I'm starting to see how it opens up so many possibilities.
Yeah.
You mentioned that Jemison uses this premise to explore social commentary.
I did.
Can you elaborate on that a bit?
Of course. So by giving each borough a human avatar,
Mm-hmm.
Jemison can examine issues like gentrification and cultural displacement through this very fantastical lens.
Okay.
For example, the Bronx is represented by this young, queer Latinx artist
Okay.
who's struggling to maintain their community's cultural identity in the face of rapid development.
Right.
So it's a way to give voice to these marginalized communities
Mm-hmm.
and explore these complexities of urban life in a way that's both engaging and thought-provoking.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like she's taking these abstract concepts and making them tangible, giving them a face and a voice.
Right.
It's no wonder that readers find that so captivating.
Exactly. And this brings us to the next key element of genre blending, enhancing emotional depth.
Okay, how does combining genres achieve that emotions seem like a different beast altogether?
Well, think about it this way. Emotions are often heightened
Okay.
when we're taken out of our comfort zone,
Right.
when we're faced with the unexpected.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what genre blending does.
So by introducing elements of surprise and unpredictability, genre bending forces us to engage with the story on like a deeper emotional level.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Take Station 11, for example.
Okay.
That post-apocalyptic setting, which is, a staple of sci-fi,
Right.
immediately raises the stakes.
Yeah.
The world as we know it has ended, and survival is paramount.
Mm.
But against this backdrop of loss and uncertainty,
Right.
Mandel explores the enduring power of human connection,
Okay.
the importance of art and community.
So it's like the darkness of that post-apocalyptic world makes those glimmers of hope and beauty shine even brighter.
Exactly. The contrast is key.
Yeah.
We feel the characters' losses more acutely, their triumphs more profoundly, because of the backdrop against which they're set.
But is Station 11 really hopeful, though the world ends right?
That's a great question.
Mm-hmm.
It's true that the story depicts this very catastrophic event, but it's not a nihilistic tale of despair.
Right.
The characters who survive find meaning and purpose in rebuilding their lives
Yeah.
and creating this new kind of society.
Oh,
It's a story about resilience, adaptation, and the enduring human spirit,
Mm-hmm.
which I would argue makes it a hopeful story even amidst that devastation.
Okay, that's a really interesting perspective. It makes me want to revisit that book and look for those subtle moments of hope amidst the chaos.
I think you'd find it quite rewarding.
Yeah.
Mandel is a master of subtle storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't hit you over the head with the themes.
Right.
She lets them unfold organically through the characters' experiences.
And this emotional depth isn't limited to just dystopian settings, right?
Not at all.
We've seen it in some of the other examples that we've discussed as well.
Absolutely remember The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo.
Yeah.
The blend of historical fiction, romance, and mystery creates this very multi-layered emotional landscape.
Right.
You get swept up in the glamour of old Hollywood, the complexities of Evelyn's relationships, and the secrets that slowly unravel over the course of the story.
I see your point about Evelyn Hugo.
Yeah.
But isn't the ending a bit too neat for a story about, messy Hollywood lives?
That's a fair critique. While some might find the resolution a bit too tidy,
Yeah.
I think it speaks to the power of taking control of your own narrative.
Right.
Evelyn, after a lifetime of being defined by others, finally gets to tell her story on her own terms
Right.
and find a sense of peace and closure.
Okay, so it's not necessarily about realism in the traditional sense,
Right.
but more about emotional realism, about finding a sense of resolution, even in the face of these difficult circumstances.
Exactly. And that brings us to the final and perhaps most surprising aspect of genre blending, its ability to enhance realism.
Okay, this might seem counterintuitive,
It does.
but I'm sticking with you.
Okay, good, because it is a bit of a paradox.
Yeah. How can blending fantastical elements with these realistic settings make a story feel more real?
Well, think about the world we live in. It's complex. It's messy. It's full of contradictions. It doesn't fit neatly into a single box.
Right.
And neither do our experiences.
Okay.
So by blending genres, authors are actually reflecting this multifaceted nature of reality.
So by acknowledging that life isn't just one thing, they're actually creating a more authentic representation of the human experience.
Precisely, they're saying that joy and sorrow, love and loss, the mundane and the extraordinary can all coexist.
Right.
And sometimes it takes a bit of the fantastical to illuminate the reality of our own lives.
Can you give me an example of how this plays out in a specific book?
Absolutely. Consider Kindred by Octavia Butler.
Oh.
It's a brilliant blend of science fiction and historical fiction that tells the story of Dana, a Black woman, who was transported back in time to a pre-Civil War plantation.
So she's using the fantastical element of time travel
Right.
to ground the story in this very real and brutal history of slavery in America.
Exactly, and that juxtaposition is what makes Kindred so impactful.
Yeah.
The sci-fi element allows Dana, and by extension the reader, to experience history in this very visceral and immediate way.
Right.
We're forced to confront the horrors of slavery, not as this distant historical event, but as a lived reality.
Wow, that's incredibly powerful. It's like that genre-bending element acts as this bridge, connecting us to a past that might otherwise feel too distant or abstract.
You've hit the nail on the head. It's
Yeah.
about making history come alive,
Yeah.
about understanding it on a deeper, more emotional level.
Yeah.
And this blending of genres can also be seen in a discovery of witches.
Oh, right.
Harkness uses historical details combined with these fantastical elements of witchcraft and vampirism
Yeah.
to create a world that feels both magical and grounded in reality.
It's almost like she's suggesting that magic might exist alongside the mundane,
Right.
that history is full of hidden depths and untold stories.
Exactly. And that's what makes genre blending so compelling.
Yeah.
It allows authors to explore the complexities of the human experience,
Right.
to weave together the fantastical and the real in a way that feels both authentic and deeply engaging.
So in a sense, genre blending isn't just about breaking the rules of storytelling. It's about reflecting the very essence of what it means to be human.
Well said. It's about embracing the messiness, the contradictions,
Yeah.
and the infinite possibilities that life has to offer.
Okay, folks, we've covered a lot of ground in this second part of our deep dive.
Yeah.
We've explored how genre bending expands our imaginations, enhances emotional depth, and even brings a touch of realism to the fantastical.
Yeah.
Are we ready to wrap things up, or do we have more genre bending goodness to explore?
Well, there's more. Let's keep going.
I'm starting to think that genre bending isn't just a trend, it's like a revolution in storytelling.
Totally.
It's like authors are saying, hey, why settle for one genre when you can have it all?
Exactly. And the beauty of it is it just opens up so many possibilities
Mm.
for both writers and readers.
Yeah.
It challenges us to really expand our horizon
Right.
and embrace the unexpected.
So we've explored the why and the how of genre bending. Now let's talk about the how-to.
Okay.
For any aspiring writers out there who are feeling inspired to create their own genre-bending masterpieces,
Mhm.
our source material actually offers some valuable insights into the craft.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I think it all starts with identifying your core themes.
Okay.
Those themes will act as like the guiding force
Mm-hmm.
in your blending process.
Right.
So let those themes dictate how you weave together those different genre elements.
So it's not just about randomly throwing genres together.
No.
There needs to be like a purpose,
Right.
a unifying thread that ties everything together.
Exactly. For example, if you're exploring themes of identity and belonging,
Okay.
you might consider blending elements of fantasy
Mhm.
and coming of age.
Okay.
The fantastical elements can actually create this metaphor
Okay.
for the internal struggles of adolescence,
Right.
while the coming of age framework provides this relatable and emotionally resonant journey.
Yeah. Right. So it's like using the tools of different genres to
Mhm.
create this like richer, more nuanced exploration of your themes.
Exactly. Now, once you have your core themes
Okay.
and your chosen genres, it's all about balance.
Okay. Yeah.
You need to ensure that no single genre overshadows the others.
Right.
Each element should contribute meaningfully to the overall narrative.
So it's like creating a delicious dish.
Yeah.
Where each ingredient complements the others.
Yet,
Without overpowering that overall flavor.
perfect analogy. Think of it this way. If you're writing a sci-fi romance,
Okay.
for instance, both the scientific elements and the romantic elements
Yeah.
need equal weight.
Okay.
You don't want the romance to get lost
Right.
in the vastness of space.
Exactly.
And you don't want the science to feel like an afterthought.
Right. It needs to feel like this natural fusion
Right.
where the different elements enhance and enrich each other.
Exactly. Now, this next tip might seem obvious,
Okay.
but it's often overlooked.
What's that?
Know your audience. This is crucial for any writer,
Yeah.
but especially for those who are working with genre blends. You need to consider who you're writing for
Right.
and how they might respond to the genres you're combining.
So it's like tailoring a suit.
Yes.
You need to consider the wearer's style and preferences to create something that fits them perfectly.
Exactly. If your target audience is primarily fantasy readers,
Okay.
you might want to ease them into those sci-fi elements gradually.
Okay.
Or if you're writing for like a literary audience,
Mm-hmm.
you might need to be more subtle in your use of romance tropes.
It's all about finding that sweet spot
Yes.
where you're surprising your readers but not alienating them.
You got it. And that leads us to the final piece of advice. Be bold but clear.
Okay.
Genre blending encourages you to break the rules,
Right.
but don't get so caught up in innovation
Yeah.
that you lose your readers in these overly complex narratives.
So it's like a dance. You want to be creative and expressive, but you also need to make sure your partner can follow your lead.
That's a great way to put it. Don't sacrifice clarity
Right.
for the sake of novelty.
Yeah.
Make sure your plot is engaging, your characters are relatable, and your world building is immersive, even if it's a world that defies those traditional genre conventions.
So to recap, the 4 key tips for writing genre-bending novels are
Yes.
focus on core themes.
Yes.
Balance those elements,
Hmm.
know your audience,
Yes.
and be bold but clear.
Those are some solid guidelines for anyone venturing into the realm of genre-bending literature.
And as we wrap up our deep dive, it's clear that the future of genre bending is bright.
Oh, yeah,
This trend shows no signs of slowing down, which is incredibly exciting.
it is.
It means that we can look forward to even more innovative and captivating stories
Yeah,
in the years to come.
absolutely. I agree.
So, dear listeners, I leave you with this final thought. What unexpected genre combinations would you like to see explored in the future?
Ooh, good question.
What boundaries are waiting to be broken? Let your imagination run wild, and who knows? Maybe you'll be the one to create the next genre-bending masterpiece.
I love that.
That's it for our deep dive into the world of genre-bending novels.
Yes.
We hope you enjoyed exploring the limitless possibilities of storytelling with us.
Thanks for joining us.
Happy reading, everyone!